Welcome back to Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton. And of course, the Indianapolis Colts 0-2 to start the year, kind of rough sledding, and it doesn't get any easier. My next guest is one that covers the Kansas City Chiefs, the next opponent for the Indianapolis Colts. Welcome, everyone, Mr. Darren Smith. What's going on, man?
Not much. Thank you for so much for having me, Mike. I appreciate you taking the time to reach out to me and have me on the show.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, of course, can you give everyone a little bit of a rundown of what all the great and wonderful things that you do?
I'll just put in some cliff notes. I'm on a couple of radio stations, actually three radio stations down here in the KC metro area. I cover the Kansas City Chiefs. I cover the Royals. I cover our soccer team, Sporting Kansas City, and I also cover KU football and basketball as well. So I'm a jack of all trades, master of many, is what I like to say.
There you go. Hey, at least you didn't say master of none, because someone say that and I'm like, stop it.
Yeah, that's what they used to say. But I'm making a point trying to master my craft, though. I've been doing this since 1993, so I'd like to think I'm pretty good at it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. As long as you have, you definitely got to be good at it. So, of course, let's talk a little bit about the Kansas City Chiefs. Of course, going into the year, the biggest talk was Tyreek Hill is not here. The Chiefs might not be as explosive. They might not be as good. Patrick Mahomes may take a step back. Well, that hasn't necessarily happened. They're looking pretty good. How do you think they have looked in terms of your expectation for them that start this season?
Well, I tell people now. I try to be honest. It's hard for me to. I have to give a point of view from. I see them in practice almost every day, so my expectation is going to be much different than what the average fan is because I get a chance to see them in practice when fans aren't allowed to be there. So to that extent, I had a general feeling that they would be good offensively. Look, when you play a good defensive team like they ran up against the Chargers, to me, you got to be on point. And I thought their first drive kind of stalled out, but with what we saw against Arizona, I mean, that's the team that I expected to see, or I expect to see all season long because they have so many great skilled players at the wide receiver in the backfield and with the tight ends that is really hard for me to see a defense stopping them consistently. Now we did see Buffalo on Monday night, going up against Tennessee. Tennessee doesn't have the firepower that Kansas City has, but I'm looking forward to that Week 6 matchup between both teams. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Now, of course, Patrick Holmes is the man of the hour. He seems to be, to me, the same guy that he was last year, but looks a little bit better in terms of kind of perusing the field a little bit more. Is that would you say that's an accurate kind of perception of what's going on with him more this year?
yes, I would say so. I think because of the loss of Tyreek Hill, it's made him more focused because as he's already mentioned to the media prior to the start of the season that fantasy football owners are going to be disappointed because he plans on spreading the ball around. That's what he's done the last 2 weeks. Nine receivers, I believe, both weeks of the season thus far. And so again, it's something that he's always talked about being a more accurate passer, which I always thought he was because just but because of his ability. But I do think he's more mindful of it because he's not taking as many shots down the field as he would have if he had Tyreek. Now he still takes some shots down the field, but just not as many because you don't have a Tyreek on the team. But I think to me, honestly, I think that's going to make him a better quarterback because if he hones in and becomes a deadly accurate passer, whether it's people call it dinking and dunking them, but just being more accurate to receivers who can actually stretch the field and stretch the change without having to worry about taking it over the top. I think that's going to make them a much more dangerous team and make him a much more dangerous quarterback.
Definitely, I agree. He's using a lot of his weapons. I mean, getting Clyde, it was a Hilaire involved in the game.
Yeah.
You got Kelsey, you got Valdez Scantling. You've got all those different weapons that he's getting involved in the game, and I absolutely like it that he's spreading the ball around. I think it's getting back to more of what Andy Reid offenses have looked like in terms of spreading the ball around to all these many different weapons. So I definitely can, you know, enjoy watching that and seeing that happen each and every week. Hopefully this year. Um, of course, defensively, the team always gets talked about defensively, and everyone is like, but can they play good defensively? Now, this year, of course, they do lose Mr. Gay at linebacker for 4 games for a suspension from the league, but they do have some talented players there. You got Nick Bolton at linebacker. You've got Reed at the safety spot brought over from the Texans. So what can you get? Oh, and of course you do have Mr. Jones inside. Of course, you cannot forget him. But what can you say about this defense this year? Can you see them molding themselves potentially into a top 10 defense, or do you see even better than that?
I mean, top 10 is possible. Look, for me and for Kansas City, you just really need them to be, in the top 15 because that's what they were both years when they went to the Super Bowl. I would say this is that I guess Gay's not gonna be able to appeal the suspension somehow. That's kind of strange how he's not able to appeal that. But be that as it may, they've also lost Trent McDuffie for a few weeks because of the injury he suffered against the Arizona Cardinals on that field. Um, the team has gone through a drastic youth movement. So like last year they were one of the oldest teams in the league. This year with nine rookies making the team out of the draft class, it makes the team now one of the youngest teams, or the Chiefs one of the youngest teams in the NFL. I do like what they do and what they've done over the years is that they draft these rookies and they get them mixed in with the veterans through training camp and through preseason. So when it's time for the bright lights in the regular season, they're not phased by it. So I said it to say that Ricky Leo Chanel, the other rookies, Brian Cook and Joshua Williams, those players on the defensive side of football will be able to step up and fill in where it's necessary on the defensive side of football. And even though Willie Gay is going to be out for the next 4 weeks, the Chiefs do have some senior veteran leadership, that was backing them up, that will be able to fill the void. But again, everything starts up front. You got Frank Clark, you got Chris Jones, you got uh, uh, Nadi, and as well as somebody's just escaped my mind right now. But they do have a lot of players that can actually get to the quarterback, and that's the biggest thing. And Steve Spagnuolo's system, his system is to bring pressure to the quarterback, and so if they do that and can disrupt them, and again, you're looking at Matt Ryan, who's not exactly someone who's going to be doing a lot of running around in the pocket. It gives the Chiefs a good chance to hone in and pretty much. I don't want to say practice, but pretty much if you're going to bring pressure, this is a quarterback that you want to bring that type of pressure to get after in the loss of a Willie Gay.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, one rookie that I want to talk about that I very, very, a lot of people were very high on would be Sky Moore. He does return kicks. Hasn't really, to me, found his legs underneath him offensively. Do you kind of expect him to be a little bit more involved as the season goes on, or just kind of stay in the return game more?
No. He's going to be involved in the offense. I mean, it's just a matter. See, that's again, as I mentioned, Patrick had 9 players receiving the ball. So if you think he's going to be a big part of the offense, you kind of lighten your expectations, because if he's passing the ball around, he's not the number one wide receiver. So he's probably number 4 after Juju and MVS and McCall Hardman. So I mean, you gotta kind of be level with your expectations on what to expect from him. And it's one other rookie I forgot. I'm sorry, and that's George Karlaftis. Of course, he's from the Indiana area, as a graduate or as a student student athlete at Purdue University. So, but going back to Sky, no, it's only week number 2. His number will be called, and I mean, he showed a lot of grit during preseason. So. Trust me, rookies don't get a lot of shine in Kansas City, but Scott's gonna be fine. He'll get this. He'll break out when he leaves. I mean, if you saw last week against the Los Angeles Chargers, I mean, it was rookie Justin Watson that excuse me, Justin Watson had 50 yards and 50 yards and a touchdown as well. So it was, he just beat somebody over the top and end up in the end zone. So again, as long as if you find yourself open with Sky Moore, Watson, or anyone else, Patrick will get you the football.
Definitely. Yeah, I just wondered. I definitely understand it's early. I just had a little keen interest there because he definitely was one of the guys that I looked out for going into the draft for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Now, of course, we have talked about the Kansas City Chiefs, but of course, this is an AFC South show. We do have to talk about those Indianapolis Colts. Boy, oh boy, I don't think anyone thought they would come out 0-2 and looking this bad offensively, and especially defensively. Last year they were one of the stout defenses in the NFL, and now they're almost to a bend but don't break defense, and they're giving up 20 points to the Texans and the Jaguars in back-to-back weeks, which no one expected to happen. So, as far as them, Gus Bradley is a guy that was in Las Vegas last year. Now he's in Indianapolis. So I know that the Kansas City Chiefs are familiar with his defense, and they haven't really got any pressure. So have you been surprised kind of how this defense has performed up under Gus Bradley, or are you just like, hey, this is more of the same of what we saw in Las Vegas and San Diego, or Los Angeles, I mean?
Well, let me say this. One, I don't like correcting people on their own shows, but the Colts are 0-1-1. So I had to ditch my Colts the other day because they tied that first game against Houston. I know people like to say you didn't win, but they didn't lose exactly either. I'm going to be honest. The most disappointing thing that I've seen about the Colts this season has been Jonathan Taylor. Now, I've bet money on him the last 2 weeks. It disappointed me, so probably going further. I'm not going to put him on any parlay or anything like that. But I would, I don't know if they just find themselves falling so far behind that they don't utilize the run game, but it seems as though the teams have initially wanted to take Taylor out the game, so they feel like you take him out the game. What's left, Michael Pittman and Doolin. I mean, they haven't really stepped up to the plate, so to speak. So, but on the defense side of football, I'm just not sure. I mean, Houston, I will be honest, Houston did surprise me in the fact that they were able to not only score 20 points, but tie, and their defense was able to. I know Taylor scored one touchdown in the game, but just the mere fact that they were able to do to the Colts what they did to them, and then I think against Jacksonville, that really shocked me that they were shut out. Now, there was a graphic during that Colts Jaguars game that it showed their last 4 years, their last 4 draft picks in the first round. They've drafted, I think, it's a defensive end or a linebacker that's of course starting on that team. So they're pretty good. I mean, they've got some good players. And Doug Peterson, look, I got to give credit where credit's due. Of course, he's a product of Andy Reid. He spent a year in Kansas City before going off to Philadelphia, won the Super Bowl up there. So they got a good head coach, and so I'm liking what Jacksonville is bringing to the table. And of course, I think they're 2-0 now, and so I say that to say that I'm not surprised that the Colts find themselves in this situation. I would say it comes down to coaching, but to be quite honest, I think it's just they can get better. And it's interesting because you would have thought they got better by getting Matt Ryan, especially after missing out on the playoffs last year with Carson Wentz. But the fact that Ryan hasn't been a big difference maker, that's really not as surprising as I thought it would be.
Yeah, 1 TD and 4 interceptions so far this season. And as far as the Jaguars, they are 1-1 so far. They did lose to the Commanders to start the year, but it was a close game, which that was interesting. But the one thing I would point out as well is that, of course, speaking about Matt Ryan, it just seems like this offense is just so out of sync. Not only in the running game, but in the passing game, it just looks out of sync. And you would expect, Matt Ryan, a veteran, to come in and kind of be a calming influence on an offense. But, combine Matt Ryan, you had Michael Pittman Jr. missed the last game, so Austin Doolin was pretty much the guy. And other guys have not stepped up. And to me, I just think they kind of overplayed what kind of talent they had in the passing game to go into this year. And then it depended a little bit too much on the veteran leadership of Matt Ryan. I mean, you think that would probably be a fair assessment of them? Is just looking at them per se?
Well, look, I'm gonna be. I don't follow the Colts like that, but what I will say is that my impression of the Colts, and this is like last week since the Chiefs had Sunday off from playing Thursday night game, I got a chance to watch a lot of the football games on the Sunday ticket, and so the biggest I guess eyesore for me is that it looks as though the Colts are just running in slow motion. I guess like the offense is just a slow motion type of offense, and again, I just if you're able to take Jonathan Taylor out the game, and like you said, Michael Pittman wasn't even playing in last week's game, it's like I mean, you don't feel like you have to double anyone, and so I mean, I'm not sure you play a vanilla-based defense, but really, I mean, what do you have? I mean, if you can take Taylor out the game, to me, that's the ball game, and that's what Jacksonville did last week by being able to shut him down for real. I mean, he's only at 215 yards for the season. I think he got most of his yards in the first game. So, look, even though I'm not as familiar with the Colts, again, I'm just not what I've seen just from the stat sheet and just a little bit that I saw in the game against Jacksonville. I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout by any stretch of the imagination. This is the NFL. I do respect professional teams, but I don't think Kansas City should have any problem covering the point spread of 7 points. And if they do, then that's a conversation I'm gonna have with Patrick and the team after the game.
Yeah. So basically, in terms of going out and win, just basically Kansas City just needs to go out and do the things that they do in terms of protecting the football, take the plays that are given, and then just control the game on the defensive side in terms of keeping people in check.
Yeah, I mean, I'll be honest. When the schedule came out, even before the season started, I thought Kansas City's schedule was pretty brutal, but I actually thought that this would be a much tougher game. And look, and it could turn out to be. It could be Kansas City. I'm not going to say that they're going to overlook them because, of course, the following week they have Tampa Bay on Sunday Night Football. So I don't think they're going to come to the game, looking past Indianapolis at all. But again, to me, I see this game being more like the Arizona Cardinals game where if Kansas City doesn't score a lot of points against this team, there's Matt Ryan, even though he's a former MVP, he's not a Kyler Murray. He's not going to beat you with his legs. And again, I know the Chiefs are going to focus on trying to stop Jonathan Taylor. And again, the wide receivers, Pittman, Doolin, that's I'm not trying to be disrespectful, but I'm saying they're not a Keenan Allen, not a Mike Williams, they're not even an AJ Green. So it's like again, they could surprise me, they could blow up my parlay or who knows what. But again, you know I would love to try to help sell this football game, but I really can't because Kansas City should put 40 some points up on this team with their offense.
Yeah, and then you also got to remember too. This funny thing, nobody really remembers this right now, but they actually have a former All-Pro playing corner for them.
Yes, Stephon Gilmore,
and he's been kind of missing in action. I haven't heard his name called once.
Yeah, and again because and I'm not gonna say that's a bad thing because if your name's not being called, at least you're not getting burnt or getting beat. Like a Jalen Ramsey gets his name called a little bit far too often, so and not for good reason. So I'll give Stephon Gilmore that. He is a former Defensive Player of the Year, so I'm gonna give that man his respect. But again, the Chiefs gonna have a healthy set of offensive players going into that game. And okay, outside of Stephon Gilmore, and I know you got DeForest Buckner on the line. There's they do have some players on defense. I just don't think it's going to be enough to keep Kansas City out of the end zone over and over again.
Right, and you still don't know whether Shaquille Leonard's going to be playing either. He's missed the first 2 games, so it's a lot going on when it comes to the Indianapolis Colts at this point. All right, well, we kind of broke down the opponent for this week. Talked about, of course, the Kansas City Chiefs and how they've gotten to where they are and, a few different other things. But, of course, there's always a game on the show. We've got 5 questions. I've got 2 answers. I'm going to make it Kansas City-centric for the most part. All right. Are you ready?
As ready as I'm going to be.
All right. I'm going to go first. Got a battle of the running backs. Jamal Charles or Priest Holmes? Which one are you going to take?
Oh, neither one of them are Kansas City Kansas City born. I think Kansas City. If I had to take him, I probably had to go with Priest Holmes only because I used to do some work for him. So I'll go with Priest Holmes.
Gotcha. Well, not necessarily anything I was born in Kansas City, but
No, no, no,
kind
no,
of
no,
get
no,
that.
no, no. I mean, like being drafted by the Chiefs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know what you meant. I'm just cracking jokes. But let's see. As far as linebackers, Justin Houston or Derek Johnson.
Oh, Derek Johnson. I thought you were gonna say Derek Thomas. Yeah, Derek Johnson.
I mean, that would have been an easy one
Well,
if I said that. But
yeah, I would take it
all
that too.
right, all right. I've got Eric Berry or Teron Matthew.
Oh, I'm about to go with Matthew. He led the team to a Super Bowl, so I got to give him. That's a deciding factor.
Gotcha. Okay.
Actually, led him two Super Bowls and won one, so I got to, can't take that away from him.
Gotcha. Okay. Now, of course, both of these teams are rivals in the AFC West, and you have to pick one.
Hmm.
The Las Vegas Raiders or the Denver Broncos, if you had to cheer for one outside of Kansas City.
Oh, I cheer for the Raiders. The Raiders, look, hey, I had money on Arizona coming back, with a plus 25 live bets, and the Raiders didn't let me down. So I'm going with the Raiders every time. Plus, I do like the stadium. So
Gotcha. Okay. All right. And leads to my next question and my last one.
Mhm.
Las Vegas or Los Angeles, which one is the best road trip?
That's a tie. I mean, I guess if I had to choose, I'd say Vegas because I'm a gambler. But I mean, but if I had to choose which stadium I'd rather, actually they're both nice, but the Chargers Stadium is actually, man, I've been there twice for the Chiefs game actually in the Super Bowl, so I would have to go with LA for the stadium. But I mean, honestly, that it's a toss up between the two because you can't go wrong with either one of them.
That's right. That's right. Well, it's the end of the game. That's 5 questions. That is the end of our time. I want to thank you, Mr. Darren Smith, for coming on the show,
Thanks for having
giving
me.
us a little bit of inside knowledge on the Kansas City Chiefs, and of course, leading us into the Kansas City Chiefs and Indianapolis Colts matchup. What I want to do now is kind of give you the floor, let you talk about what all you have going on, where people can find you on social media. The floor is yours.
Well, thank you so much, Mike, once again for having me on. You can find me on social media on Facebook. I think it's Darren Smith 816. Instagram and Twitter, Darren Smith WHB. And I'm on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. and Sunday evenings at 8 p.m. on our Fox Sports affiliate. I'm also on Sports Radio 18. I'm not on during the football season because of my travel and commitments covering these teams. But you can find me at all the Chiefs games. You can find me at Royals games, KU football. I won't be KU football this weekend because I got to leave to travel to Indianapolis. But generally, when the Chiefs are at home and KU's at home, you can find me at the KU games. And then basketball season, I cover KU basketball as well in the middle of the Chiefs season. So I'm everywhere. Just follow me, look me up, and reach out to me.
Well, you can always find you, trying to outdress Patrick Mahomes as well each week.
Yeah, it's funny. He got, yeah, so how that came about was it was after the first game in Chicago, and everybody was commenting on my blazer that I had on, and even Clark Hunt, the Chiefs owner, said something. So he kind of liked the color, and so I was talking to Patrick after in the locker room. He was like, "Man, you sharp." He was like, "Man, you always been." He said, "Man, you want to do a little dress off this year?" Oh, well, we can do it, but it can't be for the home games. I got to dress. I said, it's fine. We just do it for the road. And so he got me week one because he had a vest on. My vest wasn't ready for my suit when I left, so I had to go at it. I was still clean. I just had to go without the vest. But he beat me. Everybody liked the little teal. I thought, okay. Now I haven't decided because I got 3 suits I'm looking at now, debating on what I'm going to wear for. I might have 4 suits I'm looking at that I'm aware that I might wear for Sunday's game. But I got one. I got one I know for Sunday Night Football, and for Tampa the following week. That's tough. That yeah, he whatever he did week one. We'll see what happens week 3, but week 4, I got his ass.
All right. We'll definitely be paying attention to that battle as well. And thank you everyone for listening and tuning in to Touring the AFC South with your host, Mike Patton.